Hi there, that's right, great and glorious and to be famous one day, Nick Dutch back on the camera again one more time to talk to you about mind-altering technology. And yes, as you've probably guessed, I still haven't had a shave, I haven't had a haircut, that's why I'm wearing this hat, because my hair looks terrible. And on top of that, yes, I do have bird shit covering my t-shirt. That's woodpecker, that's pheasant, thrush, starling. What else we got? Goose is there, and chaffinch is there. Hey, I represent the whole natural world, alright? Now, I sent a private message a little while ago about this individual who had experimented with mind-altering technology in the form of binaural beats. Binaural beats is something I've mentioned on a previous video before, and it's essentially a way in which you can put headphones on, listen to the tones, and they're very special tones, because they have the effect of actually adjusting your brainwave frequency. There's lots of technology out there which you can just Google for. For instance, this is a mind machine. This one is called Sirius. It's one of the higher end machines. It's not the top of the range because I couldn't afford it, but it's just like the one or two below then at the time. Had it for a couple of years. Absolutely wonderful. Now it comes with some cool equipment, and one of the pieces is this excellent set of shades, and what is excellent about them is they have little lights on the inside, and you plug the cable into the mind machine and you put the glasses on. I'll be back. And what the machine does is it actually makes the lights flash in various rhythms and patterns, either simultaneously or alternately, in order to try and adjust your brainwave frequencies. You have your eyes closed, you can still see the lights through your closed eyelids. You also get a cool set of headphones with reasonably good quality sound, which I also use to listen to music. Now, when I received this private message, it was quite interesting because it was about this individual who'd used the binaural beats and said that they were dangerous because she, couldn't sleep afterwards, got insomnia, all the rest of that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to tell you a bit more about how to actually use this kind of technology, because the last thing I'd want you to do is to go crazy. Now, there's lots of cheaper ways of doing it. You don't need to invest in a higher end machine like this one. You really don't have to do that. There's all kinds of pieces of software out there on the internet which can actually create binaural beats, or the beep tones, because there's different types of tones which basically can have the same resultant effect upon your brain. Some systems which will require headphones, or alternatively there's other varieties of monaural sound which you can use just coming straight out of the speakers, either in terms of beeps or in terms of a tone which just changes in volume. So the bottom line is there's lots of other ways in which you can do it on cheap. There's 4 main different brainwave frequencies that people play around with. There's delta, which is the frequency of incredibly low sleep. Then there's theta, which is a little faster. Then there's alpha, which is more or less the state of an almost empty mind. And then there is a beta, which is the rapid stimulated state of mind, which you're normally in when you're awake. And if you do an awful lot more beta rhythms, you can train yourself to be even more alive, awake and aware. And finally, there is the gamma rhythm. And the gamma rhythm is very, very quick indeed. And I mean quick. People who have had EEGs done when they're going through the experience of trying to get an out-of-body experience have been reported to have gamma brainwave frequencies. It can create this feeling of floating euphoria, and it's basically the brain going into overdrive very, very quickly, so I understand. But let's think about when you're going to use these machines and what you're going to use them for. This is the instruction manual that I got with this particular mind machine many, many, many years ago now, because it's probably been seriously upgraded since the days when I got it, okay? Okay, this one has 23 preset programs. Every single one is there to have a different type of effect on you. And they very cleverly put them into various different categories, including well-being, and the well-being section includes a short afternoon break session, a good night session to help you to fall asleep, release the day to help you to reduce stress, deep tranquility. Sounds good stuff. But there's other ones here. One is for visualization, one is for creativity enhancement. We got another one here for concentration, one to help you to relax before exams. But there's also some programs here which are heavily stimulating, such as the power pause, power regeneration, performance intensive, Now let's just think about this from a practical standpoint. What precisely are you going to do after you've had a session on the mind machine? Taking into account that this is brainwave entrainment technology, and it's there to train your brain to be able to facilitate getting into those frequencies more easily. It trains you in altered states of consciousness, or possibly to have more control over various different states of mind. When I was a young man, much younger than I am now, I experimented with a cheaper form of mind machine. And I went into the meditation program, which was a half-hour program, and I used that intensively for 2 hours, namely again and again and again, for a period of about a week. And I then went out to see my friends and I played pool. When I bent over the table to make my shot, I was concentrating so much on the shot, I could hear the sound in the room slowly being lowered. Not because the hubbub and chatter was actually getting quieter, but because my mind was incapable of focusing on anything else apart from this one task of this one pool shot. And hey presto, it was one of the best shots I've ever done. Now what that demonstrated was that excessive use of the mind machine on various frequencies can not only train you into that state of mind, but could make it much easier for you to enter into that state when you actually require it. It's possible that my brain could have been perpetually slightly more within that particular frequency all the time between sessions. So it's actually there to change you as a person. It's not there just for a laugh, although, I do use it recreationally when I want to. But if I make a mistake, then basically I've just got to adjust and I've got to live with it. Now, I'm unlikely to use a stimulation program just before going to bed. Why? Because I won't sleep. It's like having a couple of double espressos before you hit the hay. It just doesn't work. So to that person who was trying to use the gamma frequencies rather a lot, number one, what you'll be doing is not only increasing that quality and that quantity of brainwave activity, you'll also be finding it much harder to get a good quality proper night's sleep. This is something you got to bear in mind. Try and use sleep programs before bed. There was one of my clients a couple of years ago who said that she enjoyed doing meditation. And hey, that's a good thing. I encourage people to do meditation. I'd like to encourage people to do more meditation with the passage of time throughout their lives. But this lady always visualized brilliant white light above her head before going to bed. And she said she always found that very difficult to get off to sleep at night after doing that. I recommended to her that instead of visualizing light, she should be visualizing darkness before bed. The moment this happened, she was able to get a good night's sleep again. The effect of the meditation was having an impact upon her brainwave activity, and as such, it was creating stimulation. If you visualize something stimulating to your senses, whether they're real or imaginary, it's still going to have an effect upon your brainwaves when you're in meditation. This is, to the best of my knowledge, one of the closest things we can call to a fact about the effect of the mind upon the body. But the same kind of thinking works with mind machine technology as well. Now, you don't just have the preset programs with this machine. You can also plug it into a CD that may well have audio strobe signals. Now, that's little digital signals which tell the machine when to flash, whether to flash the left eye, the right eye, whether to create synchronization or to create hemispheric dissynchronization for the purposes of creating different sensations within your brain and your body. Remember that something like 75 years worth of research or more has actually gone into this technology, so brainwave entrainment is actually scientific. It's not just something that someone's pulled out of their backside. So think for a minute. What style of life are you living? Are you living a style of life when you actually need to have more creativity? In which case, you go to your instruction book, you find the section on creativity, and then you use that program and start training your brain bit by bit to be able to enter that frequency. Find a convenient time of day, bearing in mind your knowledge of the patterns, whether it's very, very rapid, whether it's very, very slow, or possibly even to choose a time of day when you want to use it so you can train yourself to find that particular time of day like a trigger to set off the creativity. However, if you're about to go dancing, for instance, you might want to choose a stimulation program to make sure you keep yourself going and keep yourself buzzing all night long. That might be more beneficial to you. Naturally, I personally would recommend the sleep programs at night to get your brain used to going into that frequency before you go to bed and before you fall asleep. I would recommend a stimulation frequency in the morning and maybe something more fun and creative later on during the day. That is, of course, if you can find time. These things are typically used by people who are self-employed and can basically take a bit of time off so that they can just regenerate or take a quick break from the stress of life. But they're also used by students who are overly stressed or anxious or need to improve their concentration more. And these devices are, of course, used by strange new agey hippie types like myself when trying to explore different states of mind and different states of consciousness. What I have found after having spent many years playing with this technology is that I seem to have developed the ability, or so it seems, to be able to enter into some types of meditative states when I'm performing religious activity with much greater ease. It feels different. There's a sensation which is there. And I've learned what those sensations are with the help of this technology. So I can tell when I'm getting into that alpha theta meditative rhythm because of the sensation, because of the way it feels emotionally, because of the almost tactile sensation it has in the mind. It can be very difficult to describe these particular sensations, but these are great training tools for people who are playing about with meditation. Let's say you wanted to develop a particular emotion much more, such as the emotion of love, the emotion of happiness, the emotion of memory, for instance. After a while you get to realize that there is a certain mood associated with remembering things, and you can therefore use it to improve your short-term memory or long-term memory if you are so inclined. So, how would you personally use this technology? Well, I tend to use it when I'm lying on my bed. I can put the goggles on, put the headphones on, set a good program, relax, and just enjoy the floating, relaxing sensations associated with the mind machine experience, which of course varies depending upon the state your body's in, how tired you are, whether you've overdosed on caffeine on that day, and a wide variety of other factors. There's other ways of doing things as well, such as the great Neuroprogrammer software. I used to be a commercial license holder for Neuroprogrammer 2. The Neuroprogrammer software is now updated, it's now version number 3, I think, and you can get that from the Neuroprogrammer website. And quite frankly, it's amazing software. What you can do with that is to actually choose the frequency that you'll be going into over a period of time. You have a graph, you can create nodes on it, and you can change basically whatever frequency you want to be in. And you can get more technical about it and do things with the left hand side and the right hand side, and you can use different types of tones, different types of effects. You can have different frequencies working simultaneously so that you can give your brain a workout in all the various different regions that you want, all the different frequencies that you want. There are some people who actually create almost chaotic sounding brainwave entrainment protocols, they're called, just so that they can train their brain to be able to use all of the frequencies at once. That's just one particular use that people have. Some people report clearing of the sinuses when they're doing gamma entrainment. And some people report that after using the Delta program, their speech and rhythm of communication actually slows down, because the brain is thinking basically slower. The processing ability of the brain has changed. You can see that as being positive or negative depending upon your point of view. But essentially, these are great gadgets, great tools. If you're someone who is interested in meditation or has some interest in learning more about it, I personally am very evangelical about these particular tools, despite the fact I do not sell them. And I'm strongly encouraging anyone to use this particular type of technology for your own self-development. For instance, if you're going through a crisis in your life or there's some kind of emotional turmoil going on, I actually recommend, on the basis of experience, to try the creativity programs and then just go deeper and deeper into the situation which is worrying you and try and find any extra solutions which can come out of the creativity session. Sometimes you can get benefits during the session, sometimes after the session, and sometimes only with prolonged use. It depends upon what you're trying to achieve. If you're naturally a stressed individual and you want to become calmer, it would be good to use a relaxation program or a meditation program once a day for half an hour over a period of many weeks or possibly many months. But, know when your limits are and know when you feel comfortable with stopping. Know always you can go back to it at a later stage, but you also need to make sure you keep yourself mentally balanced and you don't get too obsessive, okay? If you're going out dancing, go onto the beta program beforehand, a good stimulation program, and just go out there and have a real whale of a time. I've had some times when I've been to a nightclub when I was young and I was on a beta rhythm beforehand, and I was flying. It was amazing. But I guess with everything, don't go overboard. Don't go crazy. You don't have to get obsessive. You can spend a couple of weeks without using it, see how you feel, maybe keep a diary of your progress and how you're thinking and how you're feeling, whether the goals you were trying to achieve have actually come your way, or whether you feel there's more work you need to do. Remember, this is not a replacement for your brain, and some people think that if they just use stimulation programs, their IQs will go through the roof. I don't believe that that's true. What I do believe is that it can motivate you to get down to your studies and actually start enjoying your studies much more. I do think it can probably stimulate your brain so that you can actually get more involved in your studies, and possibly even to help you to concentrate on a more complex task that requires that variety of focused attention without any noise or distractions. So it depends upon what you want to use it for, basically. The only way you can get real benefit from this stuff is to experiment, explore, and basically have fun. You may find that the goal that you're trying to reach you don't necessarily get, but you get some other benefits on the way, and you start building up an understanding as to how your mind and your brain reacts with this technology. I personally think it's divine. Let's say you got yourself into computer-generated imagery, for instance, and you downloaded something like Blender, from blender.org. And you were trying to teach yourself how to use it, but you found you got too many other thoughts or feelings, going on inside your mind. You're concentrating too much on paying your shopping, paying your bills, and all that stuff is going on. Or maybe some argument you had with someone in the past, and you want to just put that to rest and just focus much more on the task. Then again, get yourself one of these things, and just do a meditation program and keep the concentration going. It'll probably help you rather a lot. So that when you're actually there and sitting at the computer, you can immerse your mind in the task. You can probably go through more rapid learning when your mind is focused. As I'm sure you're aware, some softwares require an awful lot of work in order for you to fully understand them. So maybe that would help. Or if you're someone who debugs programs for a living, again, think about this technology. It could possibly help you. I'm not saying certainly. There are lots of people who make massive claims about this stuff. And I myself, I suppose, am making some claims on the basis of my experience. But I don't think you can get miracles. I think you can get assistance from this stuff. If you just want to experiment for free, I think there may be a free trial version of Neuroprogrammer you can download. I think there might be some cheaper varieties of Mind Machine. The very first one I got, which cost me about £100, and that was about 15 years ago or more. The last time I checked that very same model's price, it was about £30, and that was about 5 years ago, I think. So the prices have come down rather a lot. Probably come down even more since I bought this one here. So there's, the technology is getting more affordable with the passage of time. If you don't want a program that you have to pay money for in the end, go for Gneural, which is free of charge completely. It's an open source bit of software, but it does take a lot of practice to get used to how to set it up to do a program. So you've got to bear in mind the quantity of labor you've got to put in learning how to use the program itself. But I guess the bottom line is, just have fun, have a laugh. Don't go crazy, and just find out more about your mind. This stuff is not dangerous. Unless, of course, you suffer from epilepsy or any other form of seizure complaint, in which case do not use under any circumstances any form of brainwave entrainment technology, because that will be very, very, very bad for you. There are probably a few other health problems that some people have, possibly to do with heart complaints, that it would be unadvisable to mix with entrainment technology as well. So you've got to bear that in mind too. This technology is used by professional hypnotherapists, professional hypnotists, and people interested in self and personal development. It's great for people who just want to relax as well. I mean, after a long day, you can just do a short meditation program and I can just take the edge off the day in a way which is a damn sight better for you than like 10 glasses of red wine. But remember, there's still this thing called neuroplasticity, which means your brain has got to adjust to the frequencies you're giving it. And also the internal activity that you're doing, like the mental activity that you're doing when you're using the mind machine. If you're doing a deliberate meditation exercise, that's also got to get like burned in there with the passage of time. I think it's supposed to take like about 90 days for the brain to actually change shape in accordance with the activity that you're doing. Neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, two more terms which, if you haven't looked them up already, look them up. I guess in closing, to that individual who thought that this stuff is terribly dangerous and will destroy you, use your common sense. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Work it out in terms of your circadian rhythms. And don't be obsessive. Good fortune, God and or Goddess, and on none of the above bless. Great and glorious Nick Dutch signing out for now. Puffin, magpie, snipe, eagle, sparrow. Didn't know I had that one.